Alrighty, so I'm doing this review of last night's CONCACAF Champions Cup game involving MLS team a day late because one, I'm still recovering from my voice that has been broken for the past couple of days and it kind of still is, but it's getting better compared to when I did the review the last 2 days. And two, I had something to do yesterday, and it's going to be the same thing tonight with these CONCACAF Champions Cup game. I'm not going to be doing the review of these CONCACAF Champions Cup game until Thursday. But that being said, in terms of last night's CCC game involving MLS team, well, if you like goals, yeah, last night was not one for you because apparently we were not allowed to have goals involving these MLS team in the CONCACAF Champion Cup. And I would say that both of these games where these MLS team have faced against their Liga MX rival were very similar, where it was at times tight in both of these games. It kind of had that feeling of a first leg kind of tie when it's two really good team facing off against each other that they don't really want to take too much risk until the second leg, which is kind of fine if you want to have that approach. But unfortunately for MLS team, when you decided to take that approach, that means you better make sure that you get a win down in Mexico. And one thing we have mentioned before when it comes to MLS team playing in the CONCACAF Champions Cup or the CONCACAF Champions League as it used to known, MLS team don't do well against Liga MX opponents down in Mexico, and this is where I worry for both Philadelphia and Orlando of how they're going to be able to overcome their Liga MX opponent by winning a game down in Mexico when historically MLS team have not done well against team down in Mexico. So early on, let's talk about the first game, which is the Union versus Pachuca. And early on, Suarez would put it high as that was the game first shot before I thought Pachuca was on the front foot. And again, the Union, they did not start on time in this one. This has been a theme for this Union team this season where they have not started the game on time. They've been coming off slow off the block. But that being said, in the 15-minute, Uru did try to round the keeper, but instead he hits it right to Moreno before Sanchez would hit it wide from long range. I gotta say, it feels like Mikel Uru might have the Casper Shabilko syndromes right now because as much as Uru has known to score goals for this Union team, he's also known to miss some really bad goals, which again, that kind of is a little reminiscent of Casper Shabilko when he was with the Philadelphia Union. But in the 16 minutes, Sanchez would hit one from long range before Idrisi would hit one right to Blake in the 31st minute. Perez then hits one right to Blake in the 37th minute, and I thought the Union's got to watch out for the Pachuca transition. The Pachuca was doing a very good job on the transitional game, and the Union at times were on their skate. Though in the first minute of stoppage time, it looked like there was a penalty that was given to Pachuca, but they go to VAR to see whether or not if there was actually a handball in the development of play, and there was, and it was the right call. I don't know which Pachuca player handball did there, but it was pretty clear that that was handball, and of course that negate whatever happens after that. So the the foul before the foul was committed in the box. So obviously there was no penalty, and also originally there was supposed to be a yellow card that was shown. It was wiped off, and we do head to halftime scoreless between both of these teams. In the second half, Idrisi would pulls one just wide from long range, and again it's been a very tightly affair with not much chances from either end, and both teams look very poor in the final third. And I also want to mention the Union was stuck at 3 shots in this game. Again, the Union didn't really have a lot of chances in this one, but when they did have chance in the 70th minute, they at least put it on target as McGlynn would hit one right to Moreno, as that was the Union first shot of the second half. And it was a bit of an ambitious shot too because McGlynn hits that one from about 30 plus yards out, and obviously when you hit from that long range, it is very unlikely that that's gonna go into the back of net. And if you are kind of an advanced nerd or really believe in that expectancy goal kind of thing, the expectancy goal must be very low in terms of that shot that McLean has. But on the other end, Sanchez would put it over the bar from long range, and then Gaston missed an absolute sitter as he on the chip after Moreno spills it. Yeah, that's one that Gaston would want to have back. And in some way, I don't think he need to chip that. I think he should have just rifled that one for first time, and that I mean wrote that after seeing that chances, remember if this is the chances or remember this is the moment that missed this chance that could come back to haunt the Union if they do not advance this time because that was a glorious opportunity and probably the best opportunity of the night for both of these teams. And yeah, that's one that Gas is going to be thinking about for a long time, especially if they don't advance in this time. Idrisi then puts it over despite being wide open from 15 yards out. So speaking of bad misses, Pachuca themselves also had a bad misses. And as much as I was very impressed with this Idrisi kid from Pachuca, he was everywhere in this game. It was causing a lot of problem for this Union defense. Yeah, that's one that he would love to have back considering he was wide open there from 15 yards out. And then Montiel would hit one right to Blake in the 90th minute. And in the end, it ends in a scoreless draw as the shots in this game 19 shots compared to 5 that the Union has. So, yeah, on paper, it looked like Pachuca kind of outplayed the Union. And in some way, if you look at the stats and the balance of play, they kind of outplayed them a little bit. I don't think it's as much as the stats would tell you because in terms of shots on goal, both teams had 3 shots on goal, and again, both teams had their glorious opportunity to get the lead heading into the second leg. But 8 shots off target for the one that the Union had, 7 shots that was blocked for the one that the Union has, and possession wise, 51% possession compared to the 49% possession that Pachuca has. So the good news for the Union, they didn't allow a away goal from Pachuca. But the bad news is they also didn't win. And now, again, pressure is now on them. And especially with the way that the Union have not got off to a great start to this season. It's hard to believe, but the Union, they have only won once so far in terms of their games in this early season in all competition. You know, they're still winless in terms of league play, and then of course in the Concacaf Champions Cup. Yes, they did get that win against Saprissa in the first leg, but keep in mind in the second leg they didn't get a win in that one. They got a draw. I mean, on paper, the Aguilas score is still in favor of them, but still, that doesn't count as a win. And that, yeah, the current team is definitely struggling early on. And again, in this game when they were struggling to create chances, this is definitely a concern for the Union, and that they definitely need to play better if they want to advance in the next round, especially going down to Mexico play against Pachuca in the decisive second leg. But that being said, moving on into the next game, and like I said, this game was kind of very similar to this one too, between Orlando versus Tigres, where it ends in a 0-0 draw, and there was definitely chances for both teams, especially for Orlando to get a win out of this one. But not much happened in the first 10 minutes. Again, it feels like there's a feeling out period for both of these teams. In fact, in the 18th minute, there was a huge shout for a penalty for Orlando that was not given, and this is when the referee started to have to really try to settle things down because not only the fact that there was a huge shout for a penalty in the 18th minute, this is when it started to become a barrage of huge shouts of penalty. But before that, 20 minutes in, neither team has yet to register a shot. But then in the 21st minute, another shout for a penalty as Janssen felt like he was brought down by Aquino in the box. I don't think they would have given that. I mean, especially with the way how CONCACAF Champions Cup refereeing is and how CONCACAF refereeing is. And especially again with MLS team, I would be surprised if they would have given that. Especially it looked like Janssen kind of ran into to a key nose. I mean, it's debatable, but in Concacaf refereeing standpoint, and as a guy that have watched a lot of these Concacaf Champions League and now Concacaf Champions Cup games, they're never going to give that to MLS team. But that being said, on the following corner, we have another shout for a penalty as Orlando thought that Brekalo was brought down in the box. And while that was happening, Tigres player was asking the referee saying that, yeah, those Orlando players specifically Brekalo was diving in the box. So you talk about irony that is. I mean, I usually don't see Liga MX seeing basically complain to the referee that their opponent was diving. It's usually the other way around. But yeah, it really started to become a bit feisty. I mean, there was a little coming together during that point too, because that's kind of how it is the case. I'm actually kind of surprised that there wasn't really too much coming together in this game. But there was definitely in this case because you know that both of these teams, after the feisty affair that they had last time both of these teams met in the CONCACAF Champions Cup not long ago. Yeah, you know there's gonna be some hatred, and that yeah the referee he had a lot to do in terms of trying to calm the game down. But that being said, that feels like it was kind of a spark of getting this game to come alive because after the those kind of allocation, Guzman had to make the first save of the game as he denied Janssen in close range. That actually was the first shot of the game. And then Torres actually got the follow up on this one, but he missed wide there as the flag went up, so that doesn't count as a shot on goal. But there was no doubt that I feel like the game has lined up after a slow first 20 minutes, and it's also not a big surprise when you have something that I've just mentioned with the many PK appeals that we had in a short amount of period. And both of these teams have definitely woke up. In the 28th minute, Gignac would miss high from close range. In fact, I think that's the only time I've mentioned Gignac on name on this board. He had a very quiet game in this one, and that's good news for Orlando City because as long as you keep Andre Pierre Gignac quiet, you're probably gonna have a good chance of winning against Tigres. We then go through another period where not much really happened, though Muriel pulls it just wide from long range. Originally, I thought that was gonna sneak in to the left side of the post, but it just flashed wide there. In fact, this is not the only time that I've seen in this game and also in this game where I thought it looked like there was one that is gonna go into the back of the net, and somehow, in some way, it just goes wide. I mean, it just feels like it's almost like there's a force magnet tonight in both of these games where the ball just does not want to go into the back of the net, no matter what kind of circumstances. And as a result, heading into the first half of this game, it was no as we head into the second half. Now, in the second half, Linus with fires it wide from long range, as I thought Tigres was on the front foot, but I thought Orlando did a good job in terms of holding firm, despite the fact that they were under a bit pressure at times. They were not really allowing Tigres to have too much chances. And again, overall, not much really happened for both teams, and not much chances that was created. Though in the 67th minute, Brekalo had a Daniel Gazdag moment as he missed an absolute sitter from 5 yards out. Now, I get that Brekalo is a defender, and usually defenders are not known to score goals, but that's one that Brekalo would want to have back. And I've also, just like what I wrote about the Gazdag miss in this one against Pachuca, I wrote the same thing with the Brekalo miss. Remember, if this moment, if Orlando does not advance and they lose out the Tigres in the second leg down in Volcan and down in Monterrey, because yeah, that's one that Brekalo absolutely should have finished from 5 yards out. Galese then denied Cordova from long range before Guzman deny Enrique from close range as both teams started to chase for the opening goal and chase for lead. I think both of these teams realized that, yeah, let's not play it too safe. Let's actually go for it so we can get an advantage heading into the second leg. Maguire would then chip one onto the roof of the net before Ojeda hits one right to Guzman in the second minute of stoppage time. At this point, Orlando try their best to take the lead heading down to Mexico and heading down to Alvocan. They were able to do so. It's a no draw in this one, just like this game itself. And the shots in this one, Orlando had 11 shots compared to 6 that Tigres had. 1 shot on goal compared to 3 that Orlando City has. 3 shots off target compared to 2 that Tigres had. Both teams had 3 shots that was blocked, and possession-wise, 55% possession compared to the 45% possession that Orlando City has. By the way, because of the fact that both of these games ended 0-0, I had a debate of which jersey should I be wearing in this review. In the end, I decided to go with Orlando City. Not because of the fact that they had a more impressive 0-0 draw against Tigres, but mostly because after that 5-0 shellacking that they took against Inter Miami, I think this was a much better performance by Orlando City, and it's a good response for them because I thought coming into this game, after that 5-0 beatdown that they suffer against Inter Miami, it is very easy for them to just look completely out of sort, and Tigres would take advantage fully. But credit to Orlando, they didn't let that 5-0 beat down kind of rattle them heading into this game, and they were very sharp in terms of this one. But that being said, now they're gonna have to do the same thing against Tigres, and mind you, they've done it last time both of these teams met each other. They were able to go down to Alvocan and get a 0-0 draw out there, which is a place that, if you want to talk about the hardest place to get a resort out of all these Liga MX teams down in Mexico, Alvocan is probably the toughest place to do so. So I mean, I do worry that Orlando is not going to pull it off. But that being said, they've already done it before. They just need to do the same thing as well, and especially with the way that they really shut down Tigres on the attacking end, especially the firepower that Tigres had, and that most of them were very ineffective throughout this game. We'll see whether or not if they can do the same thing down in Alvocan. I have a feeling it's not going to be that easy down there, but if there's one team that I think could do so, especially from what I saw last time, that Orlando able to get a rare draw out of that stadium, I think they can do so. But now the thing about Orlando is that they can't just get a draw down in El Volcan and expect to move on. They need to get a win in that one. And the only team I remember that is able to get a resort down and out Alvo Khan and probably got a win if I remember was Toronto FC a couple of years ago. But that was probably arguably one of the best team that ever played in the CONCACAF Champions Cup out of MLS, and probably in my opinion probably the best MLS team to not win the CONCACAF Champions Cup out of all these teams that have failed to do so when they enter this competition. But there you have it. That is pretty much it in terms of review of both of these games. As always, let me know in the comments below what do you think of both of these games. We got two more games that is going to be happening later tonight, including an all MLS affair between the Houston Dynamo and Columbus Crew, and I think the other matchup is New England versus Alajuelense in the first leg. Hopefully, there's going to be goals. That is being scored, and it's not really just kind of a tightly affair kind of both team don't really take too much chances kind of affair like what we saw in these first two games. But until then, hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you do, make sure you guys do like, smash the subscribe button, and yeah, I of course will see you guys next time.